celebrating 5 years on YouTube as your live and interactive Sharks postgame. This is Teal Town After Dark. Ay. Good afternoon, everyone. It is Sunday, February 23rd, 2020. Oi, oi, oi. Have we just seen the last game with Joe Thornton and or Patrick Marleau in a Sharks sweater? It remains to be seen, but we will talk about this game. We will talk about the Barracuda. We will even talk about if there's any trades to be announced. It'd be great if they happened right here, right now on Teal Town After Dark. This is your live interactive Sharks postgame show. So if you want to be a part of the show, chat with us and fellow Sharks fans on the YouTube chat on the page or the app. You can also follow us on the social, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, SoundCloud, Reddit, and of course our Discord channel /TealTownUSA. And of course, if you want more Sharks content, hit us up on our website at tealtownusa.com. Good afternoon, everyone. You have the Erik and Erik show. It's yours truly and Erik Landi.
Yours truly and yours truly?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, hey, look, it's going through the motions at this point, and sometimes I feel like I'm going through the motions at this point.
Yeah. Few questions or a few comments coming in. We might as well just get to this beforehand. And Skylar, yeah, at least Dylan Gambrell scored. Yes, he's starting to look good. Also, Matthew Barzal is damn good. Oh boy, that might trigger Ian to come on here. We'll see. Yeah. Let's see what Two Phones Doug can do. We're seeing a lot more going up. Zach Croft, good evening to you, bud. Well, no heart or pride we saw tonight from the Sharks. Yikes. Dave Taylor, probably not the LA King legend, but a group of guys going through the motions, drifting aimlessly towards the end of the season. It can't come quick enough. Rob Iman saying the Sharks have mailed it in. Patrick Tyler, it's dealing Doug season. And one timer question for locals: does KFox not always have the game anymore? They do. The Sharks are doing what they call a digital road trip, where the game or the radio broadcast is solely on their Sharks app. They'll do this one more time Tuesday in Philadelphia on this one for sure. Schedule doesn't get easier. Gee, what a shock. On the bright side, Dylan beat the crap out of Malkin and the fans left him for it.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. It's just one of those days. And then Jay Lozano, good to see you, bud. I need, by the way, not to do this over the air, but I need Thin Mints. I'm just saying. In Doug we trust. So Landi, as we dive into this, 6:49 in, Anders Lee goes top shelf 6 side on Martin Jones from Barzal and Eberle to make it 1-0. What did you take from it? I thought it was a rough turnover by Ferraro on that one and a defensive breakdown.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the turnovers were quite evident this afternoon. And, I think that it was self-destruction mode. Honestly, it's the same issues over and over and over again. And, I think, as they kind of say, if you keep pounding away at it, I was gonna use an expletive, but I guess I won't. It's just self-inflicted wounds at this point, right? I mean, and I don't know if it's because of the legs. I don't know if it's because they just don't care anymore. I mean, they look like they're kind of got effort, but they're physically engaged, mentally not there.
Mm-hmm.
I think is the best way to put it.
And you were expecting to see a bounce back from Evander Kane tonight or this afternoon, essentially, because of what happened with him last night uh, in Manhattan against the Rangers, where he was benched the entire third period. Looking at Evander Kane's numbers, he did play 17 minutes, was a -1, had 5 shots, got one block shot, but nothing, nothing stood out there. I mean, he only had a half a minute of power play time and played over 2 minutes on the PK. Well, mind you, the Sharks' last minor penalty, or the only penalty they got, was 34 seconds left in the damn game because the Islanders decided to, I don't know, be angels and get away with things, but whatever. What did you think of Evander Kane this afternoon?
Not good enough. You want to talk about the poster child of the way that this team is playing is just not good enough. I think they see that they're depleted. I think they see that the writing is on the wall here. But still, I mean, you're paid money to play a game,
Yep.
and you've got to lead by example. That's why you were brought here. You were given a contract because you're a foundational piece moving forward. So act like it. Act like it on the ice. Have some pride. This team needs a dose of that.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he can be happy with himself with that kind of performance tonight.
In with anybody for offensively. I mean, I think the goaltending, as we transition to that, the goaltending has been pretty good lately. I hate to say, to use a baseball comparison because I could already hear Jerk and Gen X going, "Oh my God, baseball talk," but it's when Barry Zito wouldn't get any run support when he was with the Giants, right up until the very end of his career. It's almost like the Sharks aren't giving Dell and Jones any goal support anymore. I mean, we had one today against the Islanders, yesterday two uh, against the Rangers, and it just seems like the boy. In fact, I'm gonna look this up and see when the last time you could technically say they would have scored four in the net and we could have gotten pizza. But I mean,
Yeah, and I'll vamp for you while you're doing that. I think you look at tonight and the way that they followed up in the defensive zone. I think you look at their defensive zone coverage, and you can talk about or you can see what I'm talking about, where it's just like mentally not there. They're not picking up on players coming through the neutral zone. They are going through basically the motions on there. I mean, Vlasic, what a horrible game for Vlasic, and what how this team has fallen so. It looks like a defeated team. It looks like they're resigned to their fate. And like Anthony Sanchez is saying in the chat, end the season already. They look like they're ready to go play some golf.
yeah, and that's the scary part is that they look like they're already done. Rob Iron, of course, saying Matt Kane never got any run support. Buckeye, yeah, I know. And it's Zach Croft. There's no pride. No Drew O. No one wanted to take the reins this year. I thought Couture was on his way to doing that, but of course, the broken ankle doesn't help things though. Uh, do we see Kane move down a line on Tuesday? Well, technically, according if you heard Dan and Hetty on the pregame on the app, they already called Kane with Nason
True.
and True the fourth line, and I wasn't quite sure on the branding of the fourth line, but I don't know how many more can it'll be crazy. AO 0123455 Are there any Zamboni drivers who can play defense for the Sharks? Not that I know of, but if there is, give them a call, please. Heck, it'd be great if they can do freaking, you know, if they can do
I mean,
anything.
I mean, I mean, at least I don't know, Eric. I don't know. At least play to like up your trade value. You know, we were talking about this a little bit earlier off show. It's like, why would Joe Thornton and Patrick Marleau want to stay outside of the family and outside of it being comfortable?
Yeah,
You know, what reason is there for them to stay? I I don't know. I don't know. I think, you know, this team is content with where they're at. I mean, as far as it's showing in their play. And, you know, at this point, I think anybody should be available. You know,
yeah,
we saw last week the article that came out on the Sharks. I don't know if you guys have checked it out, but the article on the prospects, and basically there's no, you know, there's nothing coming. There's no cavalry coming, you know, and the future looks pretty bleak. And, you know, when you're turning in performances like you are right now, it makes it feel so much worse because the the players that you're counting on to contribute are not there.
yeah, and that's the problem is that the key contributors. You talk about. I mean, we could go on and on about how many times people on this program have criticized Erik Karlsson. Where's Evander Kane? Where is Kevin LeBanc? Kevin LeBanc took a chance on himself signing that $1 million deal. I don't know if he's going to get any, if he's going to get anything a little bit higher than that. I mean, you know, yeah, we expected Joe and Patty to take a tumble, but why are two 40-year-olds leading this team?
Right.
And I get it. Hurdle's gone for the season. Couture's out, and it's struggling. This is where I think Bob Bugner was trying to get at, where it's like all of you guys need to step up. We can't just rely on Jumbo and Patty. And honestly, if Jumbo and Patty get traded, we're down to what 7. We're down to 19 hours and 9 minutes as of this live broadcast away from the trade deadline. What if DW finds a way to deal these guys? Who's going to step up on this team? I mean, my goodness, Vlasic was a -2 tonight. LeVanc can't do much with the quality of this current power play, and that's a big time issue. Meyer was a -2, and he was in. I get that they were trying to be a little more aggressive, but there's a certain time for you to be aggressive and a certain time for you to start making moves. And yes, Timo had a great chance. What was it when he got out of the box, but he just couldn't bury it. True was right there. It's like, I don't know. Skylar with the super chat donation, thank you. Hello, darkness, my old friend. And I say to this darkness, just think it's not as bad as 1993. I'm just going to put that in there.
Not until the Ottawa Senators pick first overall. Then I'd say it's worse. Honestly, quite honestly, Eric, because that the player that Ottawa's going to get, even if they don't pick first overall, is going to be a gem.
Mm-hmm.
But if they do pick first overall, that's a franchise altering type width.
It can be.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know what the hell Doug Wilson was thinking on that trade.
Well,
I don't. I mean, as far as not lottery protecting that pick,
I think he felt really confident in his team making the playoffs. That's kind of how I looked at it. And
so then, is it a total lack of judgment then in his, in his, I guess, ability to manage this team? I mean, was it just just a total. He saw, more than what was there.
Yeah.
I mean, these are the questions that we're going to have to start asking, because you you've got the likes of an Alexander True, a Noah Gregor, or a Joel Shellman. I mean, mind you, those pieces might be good, but not in the roles that they're being thrust into right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing with Dylan Gambrell. I'm glad that he got the goal or
Yeah.
tonight or this afternoon, but has he really shown enough to stick around?
Yeah. And granted, he got a nice tip in goal there, his fourth goal of his sixth game, in his last 6 games to tie it at 1, and you give him that. But it's this is where it's the time to show off. One timer with Carlson is a franchise altering trade. Yes, he is. How you want to take that is one thing. Cheryl, good friend of ours. Hello, my dear. DW traded everything away for the win now window. Worst prospect pool since who knows. And there were times where the Hockey News ranked this, prospect pool 30th up until LeBanc and Meyer were in with the Barracuda. Fan base is going to have to be content with a workman-like roster for the next few years. Yep, and that's the reality. And the other part is that you have all those pieces in place. You have Couture, you have Hurdle, you have Kane, you have EK65 and Burnsy, all locked up for long term. Throw in Vlasic for that matter, and even Martin Jones. You kind of you're kind of stagnant at that point where you have to, figure out. You gonna try to rebuild on the? Are you gonna retool on the fly with the roster that's here, or are you going to even ask the guys and say, "This is where we're at for right now"?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but just to kind of give you an indictment on the players, I mean, Dylan Gambrell, 52 career games, 4 goals. That's it. 4 goals. I mean, that's nowhere near good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Nowhere near good enough.
No.
And Marcus Sorensen, where is that player who, would drive the net and really be a pain in the ass to play against, like a miniature Patrick Hornquist,
Right.
He's got 58 games this season played, 12 points. Not good enough.
No.
It's just I don't know if they're just understand in their lot in life, so it's just a lack of effort. I don't know if it's that they're mentally not preparing correctly, but something is off with this team. And I hope that there is more to come with this trade deadline. But you know what? I'm also afraid that nothing is going to happen. I'm also afraid that Patrick Marleau and Joe Thornton are just too comfortable in San Jose, and they're like, hey, you know what? We're content where we're at.
Yeah.
And I just have that lingering feeling that nothing is going to happen.
It's all possible. At the same time, I would think. Now, granted, I don't know them personally, but I would also think DW is going to talk to Jumbo and say, "Hey, I can get you a good return on this. Are you cool with going over to this team and try to go win a cup there?" Because it's obvious that it's not happening here. California Cruising. Any updates on Mario's knee? No. Looks like something significant has happened to him, especially on that collision last night against the Rangers. You have to wonder what's going on there. Just in, we're seeing it on the chat and also on the app. Zach Bogosian has been signed by Tampa Bay. The Sabres gave him up for nothing. Oh my God! If you thought there was a team worse than the Sharks right now, it's Buffalo.
But I mean, as far as like depressed fan bases, I feel like the bleakest outlooks right now is got to be between Toronto, us,
Oh, jeez.
and Buffalo.
To
You know, as far as just as far as what the future looks like and where the team's going, and that's saying a lot because
yeah.
Ottawa's looking way up at this point. You know what I mean? I just Erik, it's just Keystone Cops, one issue after another.
Yep.
I don't get it. Oh, I didn't. Patrick Tyler putting some salt in the wound. At least Buffalo has their first round pick.
Yeah.
True that.
Yeah, and they had the Sharks' first round pick last year. Not to add on anything, you know. Buffalo is a lot more dysfunctional. Rob Iman, can we get a better player than those two for 1 million or less? Yikes! It's tough, gang. It's tough. Um, Bernard Bennett. Hey, good evening to you. Thanks for joining us. First time I think we've seen you in the chat. Saw Josh Norris in Belleville, looks good. Yeah, Norris is a good candidate. I think he made his debut with the Senators last night too. So, yeah, and Cheryl's kind of right. Even though they lost to a 42-year-old Zamboni driver who actually works for them. I'll take Toronto's bleakness. They have way more talent than the Sharks. Yeah, absolutely, including San Ramon native Austin Matthews. Um, it's tough. It's tough to describe, and there's a lot of decisions to be made. And we're at 5 p.m. right now on the West Coast, so there's now 19 hours before the trade deadline hits in the NHL. There's a lot of questions that are going to be answered between now and then, and how much can this team recoup for this year's draft, for next season. I mean, I'm not expecting much in return for Joe Thornton. Unfortunately, Melker Karlsson is injured, so that kind of takes away another trade chip. Maybe not as significant, but also, is Barclay Goodrow another guy that gets calls? I know a team like Vancouver could use his sandpaper a bit. You wonder how much they can tear it down, because there's really not a whole lot to bring in.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Um, I'm just looking right now as to draft pick ownership, and Sharks currently have 7 picks in the next draft: 2 second rounders, a third rounder, 2 fifths, and 2 sevenths. And Erik, longtime listeners and viewers know that we get on this team a lot because of just the black hole that is the second and third round for this team. Unable to draft outside of a Mark Edward Vlasic, in round 2 through 3. And it's like, okay, so you're banking on having a good draft, but yet the ownership of the picks that you have are in rounds 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I don't know. Am I making a mountain out of a mountain out of a molehill here? I don't think so. I think it really does look pretty bad.
Yeah, it's going to be rough. I mean, to quote a former Toronto coach, there's probably going to be some pain. There's going to be a lot of pain. Hopefully we'll get some good players to go there too. I mean, that's the problem is that, there's not a lot that's here right now. You don't have a whole lot in regards to picks for this draft, which is supposedly a pretty good draft, but there's going to be a lot of things that Doug Wilson's going to have to do. And let's be real, Hiller gang, DW is not getting fired. He's not getting fired. He's not going to be replaced. It, kind of ironic that, the head of scouting is his son. So that would also probably include an overhaul with with this the prospect scouting. So it's gonna be a interesting one down the road to see. Let's just before we keep go along with the trades and such. Andersley gets his 19th, a minute 10 in. Devin Taves gets his sixth of the season at 17:38, and Josh Bailey gets an empty netter in the third period. That's what ends up happening for the game. Overall, Landy, what did you think of the game? Today. I mean, besides the lackluster offense, we already touched on Evander Kane not doing too much, but yeah, I just don't see a lot in going through the motions, and of course, it doesn't help that you're getting the weakest hooking calls called on you, uh, to be thrown at you as well. So
What's the Pierre Dorian line? We're a team.
we're a team.
We're a team.
We're a team. So that's a good one. And then what did you think of Jones? 22-25 on the afternoon. I mean,
I mean, it's the same as it always has been. Not spectacular, not able to make a, able to make a desperation style save or a miraculous save on any of the goals. I mean, you know, you got to have a goaltender that at least grips or grabs grabs a sure kind of fire goal.
right.
You have to have one that can at least make one of those saves, and I don't see that from him, and I don't think that he's going to be that player. And I think honestly it's time to evaluate the options with him. I know that the team has already discussed trying to get him back on track in the off season, but at this point he showed that this is an ongoing issue, and it doesn't look like there's any kind of fixes to be had anytime soon.
Nope. You do a masterful job at the deadline than in free agency, which is something the Sharks really haven't done in the past. Is lure free agents to San Jose. That's one that's gonna have to change in order to get this ship turned around. You're gonna need some players that are, I don't want to say plugins, but you're gonna need some plugins till this thing turns around. You know, so fanatical Teal bleeder with the comment. It's not Wilson's fault the players underperform. He really needs to learn from giving everyone and their moms NTC and MCs, though. That's my main issue with him. You know, it's it's tough to figure out what to do. You hope that there's something planned, and you hope that nothing goes idle in the off season, because that's something that's going to be critical as to how bad this thing is going to have to be retooled, rebuild, whatever. So
I mean, Eric, what do you think? Do you have any faith in Doug Wilson that he's going to be able to turn this ship around?
I think what he's I mean to let's be real here. We've heard since what 2010 that the window was closing on the San Jose Sharks. I mean, he's kept that window open for 10 years plus. You hand it to him. I mean, I think we were all in shock about him going all in on Erik Karlsson. I think we all knew that this was going to be a make it or break it. And unfortunately, you know, if there was if Joe Pavelski was holding up a shiny silver chalice last June, I think the salt in the wounds that are happening right now are not as painful. You know, you'd live with giving up a top 10 pick to Ottawa because you finally won the damn thing. You deal with the losses and the lack of prospects because you won the damn thing. Well, here's the problem: they didn't win the damn thing. And let's be also real. The team underperformed in the playoffs last year. They were 10 minutes away from going home in 7 games. Hell, they were 60 minutes away from being eliminated in 5 games.
Yep.
Just think
Yep.
about that for a second. They were that close to being eliminated in 5 games. It
Yeah.
makes you concerned as to how your team was shaped up. And yeah, you also like Shang mentioned in his article, you also overvalued the prospects that you have. Now, Mario Ferraro has probably been the gem of them all this year. But if you've gone through, I mean, my goodness, the equipment sale is going to have, you know, if the equipment sale is going to have so many jerseys because the Sharks went through so many players, uh, you know, because nobody could significantly stick. Alex True right now is the guy that's kind of sticking. You can say that about Dylan Gambrell since he's kind of starting to get on a goal streak run. I don't know, 4 goals in 6 games significant signifies a good run, but you have some pieces, but others have to be better, and you also have to get pieces that are going to be better in the long term.
Yeah, I agree. I think that you also have to look at the Vlasic and Brent Burns deals, and you have to look also at the Evander Kane deal, as insofar as, the type of money that he shelled out for these players and what kind of production that they're having right now. And I don't know. To me, I'm starting to see it's kind of more of an indictment on what Doug Wilson has decided to do insofar as structuring these contracts than anything else. Like it or not, but uh, Erik Karlsson is the reason, that a Joe Pavelski and a Jonas Donskoy aren't here, or re-signing a Nyquist, or any other free agent pipe dream that you want to have, that you wanted to have for last season. And
Sure, but at the same time, and I'll battle everybody that talks about about keeping Pavelski around. The guy was getting older. His skating's been slower. Yes, his scoring touch has been impressive lately, and can't wait to talk about him in the wraparound in just a moment. But I mean, you know, you need to start getting younger, but you also need to have those players that are actually going to be good and young.
right. And again, that goes back to mortgaging the future and not having, one eye towards the present and one eye towards the future. Too many times has this team traded away its first round. Too many times has this team, sacrificed players on the Barracuda, to call them up in a rush to, fill voids. You could arguably say that that's why, uh, oh my goodness, Mirko Mueller failed as a Shark. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think that I think it's more of an indictment on management at this point. And you know that I'm not thrilled with the nepotism that he showed with his son, handing over the reins. Sure, Burke, Tim Burke, I didn't want to see him continue to run the draft panel, but where is the injection of new ideas, right? I mean, that's the big thing is a team always has to be evolving, right? You have to evolve your mindset. You have to evolve the way in which you draft and develop. And this team hasn't done that. It's been stagnant. There hasn't been an infusion of fresh ideas. This team, this support staff has all been the same for the last decade, pretty much outside of the head coach and the assistant coaches. And so I don't know. I think that it was an indictment that they didn't change at least the goaltending coach in the offseason to try and fix that up. I think it even goes to show you when Doug Wilson Jr. was installed,
Yep.
a real misstep
Yep.
in the thought process. So I, I at this point I think that the issue is on management. I don't think that they have prioritized the things that they need to prioritize for a longevity of success.
Yeah. Bleeding Teal 2000, 100% at Erik. Landi, you can only mortgage the future so many times before it comes back to bite you. And here's the other thing too: how many pieces are we sending off to every time? You know, and how many things are we enticing these players to keep them around? We have to throw a no trade or a no move on them in order to keep them. And like I said before, you don't sign anybody on July 1st. You know, but 4 goals for Thornton. Nice handle, by the way. You know, you can't overpay for a goalie because he gets suck after the move. Goaltenders are overrated. Look at Bobrovsky. They are only hot for a few short years. I mean, yeah, Bobrovsky's keeping the Panthers in the playoff race, but for 10 million, I mean, my goodness.
Erik, Erik, where were the Sharks on Laner July 1st?
Right,
Right?
right.
You know what I mean? Like, I understand that you have a Erik Karlsson, that you have this guy that you need to re-sign and that you want to keep in the fold. I get it.
Right.
I get it. He's a great player. I think, at times he can be peak elite player, but you have Brent Burns and you have Mark-Edward Vlasic eating up all that cap space back there. Like, you know, I don't know, maybe take a look at Cap Geek every once in a while and see how the rest of the league distributes their money.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible that they can look at Cap Friendly. Cap Geek's no longer in.
uh,
Since
Sorry.
that guy's working for Vegas and is probably going to get a ring soon. So, but yeah, I mean, you could see what to do with what you got, and that's the tough part. But ah, it's it's one of those moments where it's like, okay, what's done is done. Now you need to figure out how you're going to piece this thing back together, um, and especially with the talent that you have. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. And honestly, folks, we're going to have you covered. Throughout the next 19 hours. When we sign off, of course, around 8 o'clock, Pucknologist will get on. AJ Rocket and Jerk will be here. If a Sharks trade breaks, we will get it to you once, either if we're on the air live, we could do that, or if it's overnight, well, I'm sure Landi will wake up and break the news for you at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And then if anything doesn't go down, we'll recap everything once the dust settles around 1 p.m. tomorrow. So,
And we'll have the pitchforks ready.
and either way, there will be pitchforks, I bet. So,
California cruising. Can we get Mike
oh man,
Hoffman
come
for
on.
EK65?
Awkward.
Oh my
Yeah,
God. I
but
mean, yeah, Steve Cropper saying can't blame EK65 for taking the money. It was
no.
offered to him, but that contract will haunt us for years to come.
Well, and that's what they'll have to work around. And also, like Hockey Jerk has said many times, the cap's going to go up. I mean, and he's thrown out his foreseen points that it's going to get to 100 million, within 5 years. But so it's going to soften the blow for EK65, just like Burns' contract when he signed 8 for 8. You know, looked a little rough. So, like we mentioned before, uh, Lightning have signed free agent defenseman Zach Bogosian, formerly of the Buffalo Sabres, to a 1-year, $1.3 million contract. And Ruben, before I say that, who's your source on that? Do you have a Drager or anybody on that? because that is a big one, especially for a guy who scored uh, his 700th goal. So we won't mention that. But in the meantime, hey, Landi, is it time?
I guess that's the only excitement I'm going to get these days.
Oh, uh, dare not tell your girlfriend that.
Have the goddamn common courtesy to give him a reach around.
All right. With that, let's take a look at the scores and see everything. Yes, we do have a trade to announce.
We have a trade to announce.
Ilya Kovalchuk to the Washington Capitals for a 3rd-round pick.
Damn, good on Montreal to get a third, extracting out of a player who, is said to not be able to play anymore.
Wow. And considering how Kovalchuk has just resurrected his career after, getting out of Todd McClellan's doghouse. And, but yeah, great job by Montreal to pick up something for nothing on that deal. Goodness gracious. So there's that. Let's see what else is going to go down, fairly soon. I mean, come on. It's something, right? Right? Flames are winning 2-1 over the Red Wings. Gee, what a shock there. The Blues are up 2-0 on the Minnesota Wild. Gee, what a shock there. And then the games that are still going to come, Golden Knights and Ducks. Yes, that's the first place Vegas Golden Knights, coached by Peter DeBoer. Hey. Oilers and Kings. But earlier today, Brendan Dillon beat the crap out of Evgeny Malkin as the Capitals beat the Penguins 5-3 in this one. Dallas wins 2-1. Joe Pavelski, I think that's how we say his name. He got his 14th of the season for Dallas. Sagan gets the game winner for the Dallas Stars. And in Buffalo, the Sabres win 2-1 thanks to a pair of goals by Kyle Okposo. Updates on that. Montreal will retain 50% of Kovalchuk's salary. They must be really tight to the cap if that's the case, because I don't think they got him. I don't think Kovalchuk's contract was that big with Montreal.
They have a million and some change in cap space. So, it's good on them for landing that. But oh boy, Washington looks like it's gearing up, man.
They're going all in.
They're going all in, and it'll be interesting to see the Ovichuk and Kovechkin pairing there. But no, good on them. I think that the Caps really do have the bull by the horns here. I mean, they've been clear in a way the most consistent team throughout the season, the NHL season so far. Ovechkin is, just an ageless wonder. Backstrom, beast as always. And then you got, John Carlson, the best defenseman in the league right now.
Right.
So why don't you go for it? And good on them. And you love to see a team really go for it, and put their chips all to the middle. So hats off to them. I hope they win it. I'd love to see Ovi win another cup and really put to bed any of the naysayers that, he is the greatest scorer of all time and arguably the best player of his generation. And that includes Sidney Crosby.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Kovalchuk's former team, Montreal, will retain 50% of his $700,000 prorated contract Kovalchuk signed with the Habs. That means only $350 towards the cap for the
770,000 is what will be costing the Capitals in cap space.
Wow. Oh man, that's like 1980, early 90s payment. So looks like we're gonna see a lot of Sharks fans rooting for the Capitals to go all the way now. Uh, I'll hold my breath till I see what the dust settles and see where everybody else goes, because it'll be interesting to see what happens there. So, as for another team we love,
Ooh, Barracuda!
your San Jose Barracuda are currently playing the Ontario Reign in Ontario as we speak. And why not the what can the Barracuda pull it off again? Can they actually get the get another win? I don't know. Remains to be seen. Oh, jeez. AJ, the difference is Crosby will play defense. Ovi doesn't. No, his defense is scoring more goals. Steve Cropper saying that's enough for a Zamboni driver.
I like this one. Fanatical Teal beater. I'm confused. What's a cap space?
Oh boy.
No, I that's some really interesting maneuvering there by Washington. And you wonder, maybe they have another move to go with. It's like, why are they saving that space? Could they perhaps make another move? But then again, you don't want to change your team too much, right? It's okay to add tertiary pieces, but if you inject too much, it could be, adjusting, fine tweaking to the point where you kind of break it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just ask the Columbus Blue Jackets about that. Yeah, they swept the Lightning, but now, they're fighting for a playoff spot thanks to former Shark Gus Nyquist, but it is that. But getting back to the Barracuda, you have Helga Watts, Latunov, and Nishov scoring goals for the Barracuda. It's 3-2 Barracuda over the Ontario Reign, and they're currently in the third period right now. So hopefully that'll be a victory.
4-2.
4-2.
They just scored again.
Oh, come on. Let's do our arm exercises. Oh. There we go.
Yeah, let's see who scored. A goal. Leon Bergman.
Oh, nice. He gets his 8th of the season. So that looks like they're going to wrap this up and get a victory for Barracuda. Yay. That's something to hopefully hope for. And hopefully I would love to see Helga Watts get in on the NHL tryout, I guess is what you could say. So I'll even be seen. Again, stick by Teal Town USA. Follow us on the social media, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, SoundCloud, Reddit, Discord. And of course, if you missed anything or you want to watch this again, check us out on tealtownusa.com or your favorite podcatcher, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, you name it, always available at tealtownusa.com, because we'll get more and more going for you. The Bucknologist will be on later tonight. You will have, if any Sharks trades happens, we will get on the air as soon as possible. We will also have a recap if nothing does go down for the Sharks at the deadline to see what goes on, and all that and then some. I'm for sure going to say that. With that, let's wrap things up. We have a super chat from Skylar, $2 super chat. Thank you very much. Of course, super chats are donations. They go to help support the show and the cost to make this thing all look good. And then you have my ugly face on here with my little belt. So this is the Kuhre. Hold your chickens. Yes, that's true. That's true. A 4-2 lead for the Kuhre is not exactly safe. So Islanders 5-1 since February 1st are one of 3 teams without a regulation loss at home this month.
Yeah,
Wow.
just they suck on the road this month.
Yeah. A lot of things. AO saying if nothing happens, DW fails. We have another goal for the Barracuda.
Ooh, Barracuda.
Jeffrey VL with his 12th of the season from Helga Watson Carrick on an empty netter. That should seal it for the CUDA 5-2. Likely your final for sure on that one. So, all right. Well,
We do have some breaking news. Looks like St. Louis Blues will be the opponent for the 2021 Winter Classic versus the Minnesota Wild at Target Field.
all right. So Wild and Blues, and that's a good one. I remember the days that the Blues and the old North Stars really had some battles there, and why not? Jump on the Blues bandwagon. It's better than shoving down the Flyers, Penguins, Blackhawks, or Bruins for that matter. So
Yeah, and that's Andy Strickland on that one, John Shannon, and looks like SiriusXM also is rebroadcasting that as well. So, it's good because you get a little bit more West Coast representation, and yeah, appreciate that.
what? Wait, West Coast?
I mean Western Conference. Excuse me. Sorry, I have one eye on Twitter and
I'll take
one eye
Landy's geography for 200.
Yeah, right. Gosh, I wish we were getting into having a West Coast team in a Winter Classic, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Heaven forbid that'll ever happen.
Right?
A stadium series between the Sharks and the Golden Knights at the Death Star. Now that might be interesting. So, we'll see. Anywho, all right. So that'll be it for us for now. There's a lot more going on. So keep. Wow. Compare this to the Sharks, folks. Habs now own 13 picks in the 2020 NHL entry draft, with 6 of those picks coming in the first 3 rounds. What are they, freaking Vegas, for crying out loud?
That's almost double.
Yeah. I mean, 6 of those picks, I think, the Sharks might have 6 picks in the draft overall.
7 picks.
7? Close enough, my God. So let's see what happens. Hey, Max Domi's out there. Who knows? They might get another one for that matter. So, all right, Landy. Well, that's it for us. Your final thoughts and where the people can find you.
Final thoughts. Know any good golf courses? No,
Golfland and Milpitas.
Yeah, right. I mean, honestly, it's time to get something done on the trade front, and the team really needs to reload its assets. And as far as where you can find me, you can use my first name. That's Erik, spelled with a K, Landi, Landi, on all the social media garbage.
All right. I'm at PuckGuy14 on the Twitter and the Instagram. Quick shout out to another friend of mine, February 29th, the San Jose Game Worn Hockey Expo at the old Power Play Hockey Building by Poorhouse Bistro. It's going to be a big one. If you want to see some hockey history in there, check it out for sure. As for everything else, stay tuned. Coming up later this evening, the Pucknologist with AJ Rocket and Hockey Jerk should be interesting. Let's put it this way. Last year, the Nyquist trade happened while they were on the air. Just putting it out there. So we'll see. It was out there. If not, well, we'll be back on the air if a trade happens tonight. Fun fact, the 2020 draft is in Montreal. Oh boy, they'll be giving away jerseys like crazy to draft picks there. So with that, we will leave you. Again, Pucknologist later on tonight. If any Sharks trade breaks, we will bring it to you live or somewhat live, depending on when it happens. We'll make sure to have it for you. And until later tonight, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow us on the social media. Check out our old content as well. Keep it real. Keep it teal. Keep it real, teal. Have a great night, everyone. Pucknologists, later tonight.